episode is crucial for anyone looking to understand how to optimize their brain and boost motivation. Today, I'm sharing the most practical and effective strategies for increasing your sensitivity to one of the most powerful neurotransmitters, dopamine. If you've been feeling unmotivated, if life has lost its color, if you find yourself spending hours on social media, binge-watching shows, compulsively shopping online, spending hours on porn sites, vaping, reaching for a drink more often than you'd like, or experimenting with stimulants or other substances, then this episode is for you. Dopamine could be the missing link, the chemical behind your drive, ambition, and mood. We're all seeking ways to amplify its effects. Dopamine is what makes you dream big and take action to make those dreams real. It's an integral part of who we are. But here's the problem. When dopamine levels surge, the receptors that respond to it lose sensitivity. Picture this. Your salary suddenly doubles. At first, you're ecstatic. But after a few months, the thrill fades, and you find yourself wanting even more. This is how dopamine works. It's what drives us to grow, achieve, and reach for more. It applies to all aspects of life. Your love life, your learning, your finances. And when it comes to drug use, dopamine spikes to levels even higher than usual, causing a severe decrease in sensitivity. The difference is that while things like education, food, or income provide genuine benefits, drugs don't. They only create a temporary surge without a meaningful foundation. Low dopamine levels or desensitized receptors can lead to depression and anhedonia, a state where nothing brings you joy anymore. In this state, motivation disappears, and the drive to do anything is almost gone. And you don't need to be an addict to end up here. This is also tied to serotonin and mental health in general. I might discuss how to fix serotonin in a future episode, but today, it's all about how to make dopamine work for you again. How to increase the sensitivity of those crucial receptors, not just flood your brain with more dopamine. So, what can we do? The answer lies in restoring balance to your neurotransmitter system. Everyone's situation is different. For example, if vaping has become a part of your daily routine, taking steps to reduce or quit can have a significant positive impact on your overall health and energy levels. On the other hand, if you're struggling with depression and everything feels bleak, then restricting small pleasures like sweets isn't the answer. As long as it doesn't lead to health issues like obesity, indulge in what brings you some comfort. Make your own list of simple pleasures. TV shows, gaming, social media, alcohol, sweets, cigarettes. From here, we'll learn how to balance these habits to regain dopamine sensitivity in just 3 weeks. Practice. Restoring dopamine balance. The dopamine system in our brain relies heavily on balance. One of the simplest ways to improve dopamine receptors is to slightly reduce overall dopamine levels. When this happens, the brain compensates by increasing the density or sensitivity of its receptors. But if dopamine levels drop too drastically, it can weaken the entire system, even reducing receptor count, since the body doesn't see the need to maintain inactive receptors. The goal here is to reduce dopamine in moderation, nothing too extreme. How can we do that? Cutting back on cheap pleasures. It's important to note that I'm not talking about eliminating everything entirely. Everyone has their own journey. For instance, I haven't been vaping for a long time, so it's not something I need to avoid. However, if you're vaping every day, it might be highly relevant for you. Maybe not a total ban, but try cutting it down to a few times a week. If you have a sweet tooth or struggle with weight, consider reducing your calorie intake. In some situations, like dealing with seasonal depression, it can actually be better to allow sweets in moderation, especially if obesity isn't a concern. As already mentioned, make your own list of cheap pleasures, and then aim to cut back on these habits by about half or even 2/3. What to replace them with? To avoid feeling bored or deprived, create alternative activities that fulfill you. One of the best ways to boost dopamine and increase receptor density is physical activity. Studies on animals have shown that those who exercise regularly have 20 to 30% more D2 dopamine receptors. This isn't about promoting some strict fitness regime. Any physical activity, whether it's walking, dancing, or cycling, is better than doing nothing. Exercise has proven benefits for dopamine levels. Playing a musical instrument or simply listening to and engaging with music in general has also been shown to have a significant positive effect. Music in all its forms, whether creating, playing, or listening, is another powerful way to help normalize dopamine levels. Any new hobby, interest, or creative outlet can help increase dopamine receptor sensitivity. Whether it's a career pursuit or a passion project, it makes a difference. Meeting up with friends is also one of the ways to boost dopamine levels. The quality and quantity of your social interactions directly impact your well-being, happiness, and even lifespan. It's simple. The more connected you are, the better you'll feel overall. Now let's move on to some broader aspects that play a critical role in maintaining a healthy dopamine system. Chronic sleep deprivation decreases D2/D3 dopamine receptors. So adapt this advice to your routine. If you're sleeping less than 6 hours a night, avoid screen time in the evening and make an effort to go to bed earlier. I'm not going to go into detail on this point, not because it's unimportant, but because there are already plenty of videos on YouTube about improving sleep quality. If you're interested in how I would personally optimize sleep, let me know in the comments. A study involving 68 participants compared a group that rarely saw sunlight to those who did. The group that got more sun exposure had significantly higher dopamine receptor density. Not everyone has access to constant sunshine, but when it's sunny, make sure to get outside and soak up some light. And make sure to use your SPF if the UV index is 4 or higher. If you'd like to learn more about effective sun protection, feel free to leave a comment. It's important to note that increasing dopamine levels makes sense only when there's a deficiency. When dopamine levels are naturally balanced, artificially boosting them will ultimately lead to a reduction in receptor density due to homeostasis. Therefore, it's crucial to separately address both increasing dopamine receptor density and enhancing dopamine synthesis. According to research, diets high in saturated fats, like those often found in processed foods, can significantly disrupt dopamine signaling in the brain, which impairs your ability to control cravings and stay motivated. Reducing your intake of these fats lowers inflammation, which directly contributes to better dopamine receptor function. A balanced diet rich in healthy fats, like omega-3, lean proteins, and whole foods can help boost dopamine production and receptor sensitivity naturally. Another crucial component about this study is reducing inflammation by improving metabolic health. This means focusing on reducing pro-inflammatory foods such as refined sugars and trans fats while maintaining a healthy weight. By doing so, you can significantly enhance dopamine pathways, making it easier to regulate your appetite, maintain energy levels, and support overall brain health. Ultimately, a healthier diet directly translates to a more balanced and stable dopamine system, enhancing motivation and well-being. Before considering supplements, remember that the foundation for restoring dopamine balance lies in proper sleep, balanced nutrition, and regular physical activity. These fundamentals are essential and should always come first. Once you've got these basics in place, supplements can offer an additional boost to optimize your dopamine balance. Think of them as fine-tuning, addressing specific needs that go beyond what lifestyle changes alone can achieve. This gradual, balanced approach sets you up for sustainable, long-term improvements in well-being. Vitamins are essential for numerous bodily functions, including the synthesis of neurotransmitters like dopamine. For instance, L-DOPA is converted to dopamine by the enzyme aromatic L-amino acid decarboxylase, AADC, which requires pyridoxal phosphate, PLP, as a cofactor, an active form of vitamin B6. Deficiencies in key vitamins can impair dopamine production. However, the best way to ensure adequate vitamin intake is through a balanced diet rich in diverse whole foods. What about supplements? I've found some information on their effects on the dopaminergic system. Citicoline, or CDP-choline, is a precursor to phosphatidylcholine and acetylcholine and has been shown to support brain health. Research supports its role in increasing dopamine receptor density and enhancing dopamine release in the brain, particularly in the frontal cortex. It has been studied for improving focus and attention in conditions like ADHD and cognitive decline. Forskolin, valid for increasing CAMP, a messenger molecule involved in various biological processes, including neurotransmitter signaling. While increased CAMP can enhance dopamine receptor signaling, there is limited direct evidence on forskolin's specific effects on dopamine receptor sensitivity, but its impact on dopamine receptor sensitivity is less well documented. You may also have heard about the effects of Bacopa monnieri. It supports cognitive function, though evidence for enhancing dopamine receptor density is still somewhat indirect or limited. Keep in mind that these suggestions are purely educational. Using these supplements is entirely your responsibility, and it's always best to proceed with caution and consult a healthcare professional. How long does dopamine recovery take? Studies on dopamine recovery are limited and mostly involve animal subjects. One such study on monkeys provided insight into how dopamine receptors recover after exposure to certain illegal substances. After 1 week of substance use, dopamine recovery took about 3 weeks. After a year of use, recovery varied significantly. Some monkeys regained 93% of their initial receptor levels in a month, while others only recovered up to 80%, with no further improvement even after a year. The main takeaway is that quitting these substances does lead to dopamine recovery, but the extent and pace are unpredictable. Due to its shorter action period and less intense dopamine spikes, some substances may be less harmful than others. For general dopamine recovery, aim for at least 3 weeks, though a few months may be necessary depending on the severity. Recovering from gaming or overeating is different from stimulant drug abuse, which may require more time and effort. But remember, a balanced approach is key to achieving steady improvement and long-term success. To summarize, once again, reduce cheap, instant gratifications like binge-watching, vaping, or overeating for about 3 weeks. Moderation is key. Avoid going to extremes. Establish a healthy and consistent routine to create stability and balance in your lifestyle. Replace harmful habits with activities that genuinely fulfill you. Physical exercise, creative hobbies, social interactions, or engaging with music are great alternatives. Optimize sleep and sunlight exposure by getting enough rest and spending time outdoors. Both are critical for maintaining dopamine receptor density. Optimize nutrition for dopamine balance. Focus on a diet that supports dopamine production and receptor health. This means ensuring sufficient intake of essential vitamins, reducing saturated fats to avoid disrupting dopamine signaling. Supplements to note: vitamins, citicoline, and forskolin have shown some potential to support dopamine balance. If you stick to these principles, you'll be amazed at how your motivation and ambition begin to rise again. I hope this episode provided you with valuable insights and practical steps to take back control. Good luck on your journey, and I'll see you in the next episode. And if you found this content helpful, consider subscribing. I'm going to share more tips and biohacking insights that can help you optimize your performance, boost your health, and take control of your well-being.